Hey everyone, welcome today. I am at the Geode with Marcy and I'm Kristin. So we're going to work through a gentle restorative practice today. You won't need anything really special. So if you don't have blocks, if you have books, you can stack books to use. If you don't have a bolster, that's okay. You can use pillows from home. We're using a couple blankets. So just improvising and kind of playing around, seeing what feels good in your own body. If you do have props at home, we are using 2 blocks, but again, you could use books. So we'll start in an easy seated position, starting to pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. And we're just going to take a moment to slow everything down. No matter where you're coming from in your day, or if you're doing this in increments because you're doing a lot of other things in between, that's okay. So starting to ground down, feeling the sensation of your sitting bones in contact with the earth beneath you. Start to drop the shoulders away from the ears. The hands can be in an open receiving gesture on top of the knees, or you can drop them by your sides, just creating some space here. So some fluidity in the upper body. Then we'll just start to do a systematic check-in. So wherever you're coming from or going to today, noting where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, and we'll drop the eyes gently closed. Starting at the crown of the head, imagining that a string is pulling you toward the top of the ceiling. So floating the spine long. Let the eyes be really heavy in the sockets. Imagine them melting back through the skull. If your teeth are touching, unhinge your jaw. Release the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Start to open the collarbones or broaden the collarbones. Let the shoulders roll heavy down your back. Let your hips sink into the earth beneath you. Toes are relaxed and fingers are relaxed. We're starting to check in with the breath. So frequently we're just breathing in this collarbone or upper chest region, and it does its job of keeping us alive. But when we start to access these deeper spaces, we're making more oxygen available to our tissues, our organs, and also sending this message in this biofeedback loop that it is okay for us to slow down, relax, that we are safe. And so it kind of pushes us from fight or flight into that rest and digest. So that's where we want to be today. So fully inhaling. And when you get to the top of that inhalation, fully exhaling. So filling up from the belly to the rib cage, to the collarbones, through the throat. And then releasing all the way back down. So let's just take a few breaths together. When you get to the top of that inhalation at your own time, let some breath out through the mouth. So almost sighing out those exhalations. One more. And at this point, as we begin our practice, if there's an intention that you would like to invite in or something you would like to come back to, even if it's just arriving in this space and being present for the next few moments, whether it's accepting uncertainty, whatever is meaningful for you today in this practice. We'll start to drop the hands down to the mat, start to pull the shoulders away from the ears, and you'll feel this lift in your sitting bones. We're going to ground through the right hand. Inhale, the left arm comes up. On your exhale, start to tip and bend into that right elbow, gazing underneath that left tricep, rooting down through that left sits bones. On your next inhale, we'll bring both arms up. Exhale, drop the left hand, bend to the left elbow, root through the right sits bone, gaze up under the right tricep. Your next inhale, both arms come up. Exhale, float the hands back to the mat. The hands are going to find their way to their knees. We're going to find a seated cat-cow. So rounding the spine, dropping the head, and then inhaling, pulling the head up, pulling the spine straight, starting to gaze back, and just moving through this shape. So moving to that C-shaped spine for cat, dropping the head. Inhaling, pulling the shoulders back, heart space is broad. Do 2 more of these with your own breath. Just a gentle warm up of the spine. And after you finished your next full round of this, just finding a neutral spine. And then we'll drop the hands beside us again. We'll start to tip the right ear toward the right shoulder, crawl the left fingertips out. Inhale the head to midline. Exhale, left ear to left shoulder, crawl the right fingertips out. Inhale to midline. And then we're going to start to find some semicircular rotations. And when it feels okay in your neck, if it does feel okay in your neck, you can start to find some full rotations. So moving with the breath, stopping anywhere you may sense some tightness. Finding circular and semicircular rotations. Finding the rhythm of your breath in your body here. I'm going to find one more full rotation. And then bring your head back to a midline position. We're going to inhale our arms up, interlace the fingers, point our fingers to the sky. And then we're just going to start to tip to the right and make a big circle. So finding some of that spinal mobility. We'll do 3 on this side, so 2 more. And then when you finish that rotation, just meeting at the top, and then we'll just reverse the circle. So feeling the extension of the arms, the rooting of the sits bones. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, release. And if, like us, you have been spending a lot of your time like this, work on some heart openers. So just find your fingers kind of interlacing here. Touch the chest and just start to open the chest. So let's find a few motions of that. So inhaling, exhaling, opening, pulling the shoulder blades together, almost like paint brushes across your chest, finding those strokes. Let's do one more. And then drop the hands down. And then we'll interlace the hands behind the back and we'll punch down. If this is too intense, you can just grab opposite elbows. And just breathe here, focusing on that chest opening, the collarbones broadening. Inhale, get tall, exhale, release. And then we'll find cactus arms. So pull the shoulder blades together, gaze up. And then we'll just start to move side to side here, using the core, engaging the core, loosening everything up. When you find your way back to midline, just hang there, drop the hands. Inhale, the right arm comes up, pat yourself between the shoulder blades, hug the right elbow in with the left hand, maintaining that long neck. Breathe here. Inhale, both arms come up. Exhale, left hand pats between the shoulder blades, hug in with the right hand. Breathing here. Inhale, both arms come up. Exhale, release. And we're just going to extend our feet out straight. So we're moving into Dandasana. So pulling the flesh away from the sitting bones, rooting the hands down, flexing the feet toward the face. Just take a couple breaths here. Your next inhale, pull the arms up toward the sky, and then we'll exhale and start to fold forward for Paschimottanasana. Any amount is good. So if you're at the edge of your stretch, maybe backing out a little bit. Hands can come to the shins, they can reach for the feet, energetically reaching that heart space forward, releasing the low back. And even if your body isn't moving anymore, maybe inhaling you get longer, exhaling you move deeper, even if it's just imagined. On your next inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, release fully. We're going to cross the right leg over the left. So right foot plants on the outside of the left thigh. We'll inhale the left arm up by our ear. Exhale, start to just gently twist. So you're propping yourself up on the right hand fingertips. Finding a gentle spinal twist. Gazing out over the right shoulder. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, unwind. And we'll just switch sides. So you can shake the legs out if you'd like. And then crossing the left foot, planting the sole of the foot. Right arm up. Exhale, twist. You can tint those left fingertips if that feels good. Active through that right foot. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, unwind. And then from here, start to pull the soles of the feet together. Reposition. So we're in a butterfly pose here. And then maybe holding onto the feet, pulling the shoulder blades together again, so opening that chest. And it doesn't matter where the legs are in space or time. You feel really tight through here, just sending some breath there. And then we'll release effort, and we're going to roll over for a tabletop. So maybe rolling out the spine. If your knees are tender, you can bring a blanket underneath them. Give you a little more support here. We won't be here long though. So the tops of the feet are pasted to the mat. And then we're just going to start to find some cat-cow in this position. So you can start with cat or cow. If you're starting with cat, dropping the head, pulling the tailbone toward the floor, abs are engaged. Inhale, looking up, tailbone tips toward the sky, gaze follows. Move through this with your own breath. After you've finished your next full round of cat-cow, just finding some stillness at midline, maybe again shaking out the hips with a figure eight or an infinity symbol. And then we're just going to push back to downward facing dog. So big toes meet, letting the belly spill in between the knees, reaching out with the fingertips. Maybe giving yourself a gentle massage back and forth on the forehead. And then start to energetically reach the fingertips out. So you're creating this long line from the hips to the fingertips. Ribs are spacious. And then we'll tent the fingers and we'll start to crawl our fingers to the right side of the mat. We'll anchor that left hand down, anchor down through that left hip. And breathe here, inviting spaciousness. Tent the fingers. Start to walk the fingertips over to the left side of your mat. And then anchoring that right hand down. Release into child's pose. Tent the fingers, come back to midline, reach one last time here. Breathing into those ribs. Sending spaciousness to the armpits. And then we'll just start to roll up. The head's going to be the last thing to come up. And then we can move the blanket off to the side if you were using that. And then we're just going to start to find our way to our backs. Slowly and gently. And then once you find your way to your back, maybe pull the knees in. Give yourself a hug. You can leave the head flat on the mat, or you can start to pull the forehead toward the knees. And then release the feet down. Bring the feet out wide to the edges of your mat, and then just start to drop the knees in toward one another. So a little spinal release. We'll bring the left hand to the heart, the right hand to the belly, just sensing into that breath. Feeling the rise and fall and movement. And then bring the knees back out wide. Start to heel toe your feet in, and we're just going to start to windshield wiper the knees back and forth. So feeling your hand maybe graze from hip to hip. And then finding stillness, we're going to reach for our block, and we're going to find a restorative bridge. So with restorative poses, we usually stay here for a bit of time. So if at any point you become uncomfortable, need to move, need to come out of the pose, give yourself permission to do that. It's your practice, and what matters is that it feels good in your body. So setting up for this pose, you'll be able to brush the back of your heels with the middle fingertips, root through the feet, lift the hips, and then just slide the block underneath the pelvic girdle. So you don't want it to be in your low back. You want it more on those SI joints. And it feels really nice and releasing once you put your weight and let the block pretty much do all the work. So your palms can be open facing up in a receiving gesture, or you can plant the hands for a more grounding sensation. And you can play around with the height of the block. So I have mine on the lowest setting, and that feels good in my body. You could turn it on the next highest setting and start to settle in here, see if that feels good. You could even find the highest setting. And we'll be here for about a full minute. So again, adjusting if you become uncomfortable. Otherwise, just enjoying the resting postures here. Your eyes can be gently closed. If your eyes are open, maybe you can gaze out in front of you, your neck is really soft, but maybe you can see the rise and fall of your belly. So just another connection point to that life force. And then firmly rooting through the feet, we'll push up off the block, remove the block, melt your spine down one vertebrae at a time. So you come all the way to the earth. And then just pull the knees in. We're going to find a spinal clock. So just making circular rotations with the back of that pelvic girdle. Your hands can be on your knees or on your belly or outstretched. And if you haven't yet, we'll switch directions. So if you're moving clockwise, we'll now go counterclockwise. Find stillness and start to lift the feet toward the sky with a generous bend to the knees. So if you have a wall near you, you could practice legs up a wall, which is a very calming pose for the central nervous system. So it again reinforces along with that breath that it's okay to rest and relax and be here now. And then start to float the feet back down. Again, if you're practicing at home, you can extend any of these postures. And then we're going to let our arms fall out to a T, feeling that broadness along the chest. Pull the knees in, and then let the knees fall over to the left. If this feels straining whatsoever, you can take a blanket and support the knees. You could take a block if a block is accessible and support the knees. Just finding a position here that you can really rest in. And if the knees are touching and that doesn't feel great, you can always put a blanket between the knees also. Or pillows work fine too. If the mind becomes busy, know that it's just doing its job. So often when the body starts to slow, the mind starts to naturally pick up. So maybe just being an observer of all the thoughts you're having. So as they start to tumble in, to-do lists, or thinking about what's next or what was before this moment, acknowledging it, honoring it, and then letting it go. So almost like observing a shooting star in the night sky. We'll remove any props, inhale the knees back to midline, and then find your comfortable spot on the other side. So taking a moment here to set up, whether it's with pillows or blankets or blocks, and just pulling the arms out to a T, and then dropping the knees over to the right. That gentle spinal twist. It's always an option here. If you'd like a little neck stretch with it, you could always gaze over the left fingertips. And then on the other side, you could have gazed over the right fingertips. So that's always an option. And since you are at home, having the freedom and space to explore what really feels good. Inhaling the knees to midline, and then just taking the ankles and finding some circular rotations here. So rolling out the ankles. The ankles work pretty hard for us, but you don't usually show them a whole lot of attention. So maybe flexing and pointing the feet, just feeling all the little muscles that engages. And then drop the feet down. And we're going to move into Supta Baddha Konasana. So reclined bound angle. So I'll show you how I like to set up for this. And it might take some playing around. So if you have a bolster, use that. If you don't, that's totally okay. You can use pillows or blankets. The point here is we're going to have a little bit of a heart opening gesture. So I'm going to play around with my blankets until they feel good. Kind of creating a squished in little space. So if you have firm pillows, it might take one, maybe a couple. And then I'm going to have my blocks or books close by because they're going to go under the knees. And then finding your sweet spot. So pulling whatever you're going to be reclining over close to the tailbone. You can plant the feet on the mat and then just start to recline over. And here you might find, well, I'd like something under my head, so you can find that, or you might find this releasing posture of the neck kind of draping over. And then the soles of the feet will kiss, and we're just going to let the knees relax down. If this feels too intense in the groin, stack another book, or you can turn the blocks to a higher setting, just until you feel really supported here. Feeling the broadness of your collarbones, the openness of the heart. And just breathe here, making any adjustments as you need, and then finding stillness. And again, the arms can be outstretched any way that feels good, or they can come to the heart and the belly. You can have cactus arms if you want even more of a heart opening gesture. The belly be soft, really tapping into the inhales and exhales. bringing the knees off the blocks, blankets, pillows, whatever. Firmly planting the feet. And then we're just going to start to walk ourselves up, supporting yourself with your elbows, finding your hands and just walking your way back up. We're going to move into a supported child's pose. So taking the blankets, bolster, pillows, and making yourself a little nest here. So depending on how long your bolster, blankets, pillows are, what we want is to have the chest lifted, and we want to have our head on whatever's supporting us, because we're going to get a little neck stretch here too. If this is too intense on the hips, you can always take a block or some books and prop it under the sits bones. Totally optional. And you can try it, and if it doesn't feel good, you can remove it. And then we'll just start to walk ourselves out over the bolster, and you might need to pull it in or hug it in a little closer. And then we'll lay the right feet down. And then we'll exhale the left cheek down. Slowly start to walk yourself up from your prop. And then we're going to keep the blankets, pillow, bolster as is, and then just turn it to the side. And so we're going to drape the backs of our knees over this. An option here is taking a block or a book, and we're going to put it right underneath these kind of 2 points, these 2 bony prominences on the back of the head. So it kind of gives you what's called a suboccipital release. So figuring out your spacing here. So the prop will go underneath the knees. And then releasing down, pulling the flesh away from the sitting bones. And then the block or the book will go kind of at the base of the skull. And you can rock the head from side to side, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a gentle skull neck massage. And find stillness or movement here, whatever feels better to you. Especially now that a lot of us are using devices a lot more, and that can get really strained or tight or achy. So I like to use this one just throughout the day too. And if you are finding that rocking motion with the back of the head, just find stillness for a moment. And we're going to start to set up for whatever your Shavasana looks like. So if you want to keep the props as is, if you want to move the block away, if you want to keep the back of the legs supported, or if you just want to outstretch the legs, start to take up some space maybe. Start to walk out the shoulder blades if that feels good. Always an option to keep the feet planted here too. And then just start to fully surrender to this resting posture. Maybe pulling the left hand to the heart, the right hand to the belly. Sensing into that breath for just a few more moments before letting go of all control. So letting the breath return to normal. Moving through that systematic check-in. Crown of the head melting down toward the face. Eyes are hanging heavy in their sockets. Brow is unfurrowed. Unhinge the jaw. Tongue hang heavy to the root of the mouth. Neck is gentle, soft, and open. Collarbones broad. Belly softly rising and falling. Glutes relaxed and released. Hips heavy. Thighs relaxed. Calves relaxed. And slowly bringing the awareness back into your physical space and in your physical body. So first, just noticing the temperature of your skin, any noises that are happening outside the room you're in or within the room you're in, any scents you might be picking up on. Just in these final moments, feeling the weight of your body pressing into the earth beneath you. Starting to invite some micro movements. So maybe wiggling the fingers, rolling the wrists, rolling the ankles, taking any movement that your body would enjoy or find satisfying in this moment. And when you're ready, we'll pull the knees into the chest. Then drop over to the right. We'll find a little pillow with our right arm. Hold in here for a moment. So in this C position or position of reemergence, seeing if you can even invite a moment throughout your day of this slowness, gentleness, and presence. Start to press yourself up using the strength of your arms. Finding your way to an easy seated position. Eyes can be gently closed. Again, pulling the flesh away from the sitting bones. Pull the hands to prayer position. Plug the thumb knuckles into the sternum. Start to raise the fingers toward the third eye space, just tapping gently. The light within me sees, values, and honors the light within you. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with us today. I hope that you feel a little more relaxed, maybe a little more rejuvenated. And we wish you wellness and happiness and presence until we see you again.